We continue with circle geometry. Like I said, we need to take this topic serious because it's always in the exam. No matter what, it's always in the exam. This topic is examinable. It is always examinable. I'm not being a prophet. I'm just telling it how it is. Now, we talked about 7 commandments and we are at the 4th commandment of circle geometry. And the 4th is cyclic quadrilateral. With the name already, you can tell that there is the cyclic, the circle is part of it, and there is the quadrilateral, the quads, 4 sides, shape with 4 sides. There's a video that talks about quads, the geometry of shapes, and we talk about all the quadrilaterals that we have, the trapezium, the rhombus. If you're not familiar, check out the video. It can be very, very helpful. Anyway, this theorem states that if we have a circle and a quadrilateral, and that quadrilateral somehow, each point is touching the circumference, which is something that you should definitely need to remember when you're using this theorem. All the points of the quadrilateral should be touching the circle. The theorem states that diagonals, they add up to 180. If we have A and we have B over there and they're diagonal, if you add A plus B, you should get 180 degrees. That's the theorem. Same applies on that diagonal. When you add that, you should get 180 degrees. Right? Simple and straightforward. But then, if it's a question and there are so many lines involved and you're now using a lot of theorems, it becomes hard. But please remember, all the points should be on the circumference. Here we only have 3, and that point is not on the circumference. So this theory doesn't work. This is a point to remember. All the points need to be touching the circumference for it to work. So that's the 4th theorem. Let's do a practice question, because mathematics without practice is pointless. Right? It's more like reading a book about working out. Without even working out, it won't work. You might know how to lift the weights, but it won't work. We have a question there. Already you can see there is a triangle in the quadrilateral, and that quadrilateral is inside the circle there, being depicted by those green lines. So the question is, find K and H. There we have 85 and there we have 52. So if we have 85 over there, for us to find K, 85 plus K should give us 180 because they are diagonals on a cyclic quad. So K is equal to 95. Right? So how do we find H? Already, that's a triangle now. We have 52 and K is our 95. It's now easy to find H because all these degrees should add up to 180, right? So 180 minus 52 plus 95 in the brackets, we should be able to get H, and H is 33 degrees. So we have used cyclic quad to completely solve this typical exam question, right? So when you're in the exam, just know that we are using a combination of all the theorem. We're moving on to the commandment number 5. Also a cyclic. There's an aspect of a cyclic, but now we have exterior angles involved. Those angles that move outside the circle. When I'm doing this question, I like putting 4 and 5 in the same order, because if you know 4, it's easier for you to work out 5. I didn't spend much time on the theorem number 5 because you really don't need it. If you know 4 already, you can know 5. So I won't spend much time on it. We're moving on to the next 2 theorems. We're left with 2, 6 and 7. Now, psychogeometry, you need to diagnose all the theorems if you're answering a question. But for 6 and 7, it's all about tangents to circle and triangles. Right? Circumstance whereby we have a circle and a triangle. So sit carefully and listen to this theorem. So what we have a tangent, a line that touches the circle, and we have a triangle inside. So let's say we have angle x. It means that also that angle is x. If this is 65, it means the angle over there is 65. Just picture this theorem. You need to have a photographic memory. If the angle at the exterior should be angle at the other side. That's the theorem. I wish I had another way to explain it. I wish I had another way to make sure I grind on this commandment. But anyway, maybe practice can help us. So we have a question E there, and they're saying find x. So we have 72 over there already. That's 72. Sorry, that's 77. Besides, there are parallel lines over there. If you notice, the moment you see parallel lines, it means that the knowledge of alternate angles, Z angles, now alternate angles. This is the theory behind alternate angles, Z angles, and corresponding angles. Given that we have 2 parallel lines depicted by those 2 question mark, those signs, we have what we call Z angles. The one that I'm drawing and highlighting with the green line. When you draw it, there has to be a Z. So let's say we have 120 degrees over there. It means that is 120 degrees. So that's Z angles. And if that's 120 and that's 120 degrees, that's alternate, of course, that's corresponding angles. So this is the theory behind Z angles. So if that's 75, using Z angles, if that's 77, this is also 77. Can you see how I've drawn the Z angle? So finding x is a matter of adding 77 and subtracting it from 180. And our final answer, when you punch into the calculator for us to be accurate, is 36. So this is a combination of a question that we have used the 6th theorem, the 6th commandment, and also the knowledge of corresponding angles. We move on to the commandment number 7, which is the last of the many commandments of psychogeometry. And like I said, there is no single question which asks one commandment. It's a combination of all of them. But on this rule, you just need to cram this. Why do you need to cram this? when it comes, it's always like that. The way they draw it is the same. You just need a photographic memory to just remember that, oh, that's theorem number 7 by the way they draw it. Involves a circle and 2 tangents, right? So what's the story behind this mysterious theorem? That line and that line are equal, meaning that angle and that angle will be equal. That angle and that angle, they are all the same. And that angle and that angle are also the same. I like this theorem because there are no tricks involved. You're just filling in, you're just solving the question completely. It's more like you're just punching digits. When you just remember the theorem, it's a matter of just writing the answers in. I just wish whatever exam that you're writing, you get such a question, because there's a tendency of people getting all the marks on such a question. So let's do a practice question. Now, remember the first theorem that we did, because it is going to be helpful in this question. Remember the photographic memory that we talked about. If you need that, already I can see the theorem there. Now, so that's 90 degrees and that's 90 degrees. And it's a tangent. So if we say 90 plus 90 plus 52 from 360, we should be able to get that angle at all. The angle at the center there is 128. So if you want to look for that angle in blue, it's a matter of dividing by 2. Angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So y is equal to 64. When you look at this shape, quickly you know that this is commandment number 1. So a combination of commandment number 7, the last theorem, and the first theorem. Like I said, psychogeometry, it's a combination of all that you have learned. So revisit them all. It's Zimbopreneur. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel, comment, because that's the air that we breathe.